What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Tuesday. It's time for some Tallboys
and Trackmasters.
What's going on, Trevor?
Well, it's been a good week. I got 2 new Trackmasters delivered. One's a temporary wreath, and can't beat it.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm excited. It's episode 4. We're going to go over our riding gear, maybe kind of go over our current setups that we have right now and stuff in the future that we might want to get, or and we'll open it up for some comments to see who else has different stuff they might like to talk about as well. So I think maybe just kind of start off with what we have, what we're currently using right now.
Like
maybe
top down.
Top down. So we'll go with helmets and just kind of work our way down. So
I guess I'll throw it out. So this is the only helmet that I've had since I got back into it. This is a Bell MX9 Adventure with MIPS. It's been a great helmet. It's going to be retired this year probably because there's no getting the stench out of the liner, no matter how many times you wash it, and that's just a fact of life. But it's not the lightest helmet, but it's held up really well. It's reasonably comfortable. It does get a little hot if you're doing a lot of technical stuff. I do like it's got a pretty big opening for goggles or whatever. I think it comes with a visor. I've taken mine out. Overall, it's just been a really good helmet for the price. I've been interested in trying like a modular or something like that, but just haven't made the plunge.
Yeah. So I started out, my first dual sport helmet was a Fly Trekker.
That's what AJ was, I think.
Yeah. Really awesome for the price. I like a lot of Fly stuff. I usually used to race with a bunch of Fly stuff just because it's comfortable as all get out. Had the visor shield and the full top visor on there. But that was one of the heaviest helmets I've ever owned.
Yeah.
And after you get done a whole day of riding, man, your neck was just pounding, killing you.
I'm really wanting to try something lighter.
Right.
That still offers, I want ECE or Snell if I can get it. But that is something I do notice with this helmet, especially if you do a lot of rough terrain, your head's bobbing around. Like I said, it's not the heaviest, but especially by the time you hang a GoPro chin mount off the thing, which is something I really didn't think would make that much difference. But, man, it fatigues my neck after a while.
Mine's pretty dirty right now, but I have the same Bell MX9.
Yep.
I've got a FOD Motorsports little Sena Bluetooth thing on there.
I got a little Cardo Pack Talk. It's literally good enough to do phone calls and listen to music on, but
that's
the price difference between that and talking to your buddies is like another $200.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of getting a bunch of guys together talking to each other. It never seems to work for me, and then there's just too much background noise trying to focus on things. So
especially like getting spread out, you're limited to the range of Bluetooth. And I know on a lot of times, like I'll fall towards the back, somebody will go towards the front, and then having to deal with those things trying to sync back up all the time.
Yeah.
And then it's just the price.
Being too much lag.
Music here and there is nice, and being able to do phone calls is nice, but
I like being able to answer the phone in case, the wife or somebody has an emergency, need to get a hold of me. But I mean, mainly I'm listening to music in mine. So, but I'm a fan of this helmet. It's way lighter than the Fly was. This thing still is pretty heavy, all things considered. And, good face shield. You can still fit goggles if you want to underneath the face shield if you're riding somewhere it's super dusty.
I just run the face shield. Mine got scratched to the point that I just run goggles all the time now anyway.
Yeah, the vent's pretty good in the front. I don't really have any issues with fogging up or anything like that.
It does have vents in the back that are more there for an aesthetic choice. They don't really vent.
They don't really do a whole lot. Yeah, so I mean, all things considered, I'm pretty happy with mine. I know the wife picked that up for me for Father's Day, and she got a pretty good deal on it. And
I think
I'm a fan of Bell.
I think you can get them for $200. They've come down a good bit since they first came out.
Yeah. What do you think about the helmets that actually the whole entire face
Like
shield
a
lifts up?
a modular helmet. I know Tom King and Fred both have them. They seem pretty pleased with them. I'd be interested to try one at some point, but
Yeah, I think
not
it would be
much.
nice, even if like not so much to maybe going into a store or something, but you're in like a really slow,
Yeah,
not really say technical section, but somewhere where you need to catch your breath for a second. I think that'd be really
yeah,
nice to be able to just catch a wind of air real quick, you know?
yeah. And I do get jealous of seeing them. Like I'll be, sweating and gasping for air, and just seeing them be able to flip that thing up and they're good to go.
Yeah, it's nice on a big ride too. If you got to
One.
stop and help somebody and be able to flip that thing up and be able to breathe while you're trying to push a 900-pound V-Strom up somewhere it shouldn't be or something along those lines.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Well, kind of moving on from that, maybe a little bit. I mean, what do you normally rock as far as eye protection?
So from 2018 to now, I rode with a pair of $15 Coleman Walmart specials.
Yeah.
And I did finally get some 100%. I think they're Strata 2s or something like that. They're not very expensive. So if they get scratched up or beat, you're not out much money. I don't know that the lens is optically correct, but again, for the price, you can't complain too much. And they do have the nipples for tear offs.
Yeah. Like I have the exact same ones too, which is kind of funny.
Dude,
These are 100% that say FMF on the side. These
it's
are
a working
actually,
man special, buddy.
yeah, this is ones that I actually had my last season I was racing with, and they kind of survived the gauntlet, so to speak. And like you said, they got the tear off post. The padding's nice around your head, and
you've got dual
nice
density foam padding that's actually really comfortable.
Yeah, it is a lot of goggles. Yeah, a lot of goggles I've ran, like that padding goes away, and then the plastic parts right on the ridge of your nose, and just
and it's backed with like almost terry cloth. Like if you get like you ever wear a hard, I know you wear a hard hat, but like material like the sweatband, and it's really nice not having that coarse, scratchy foam touching your skin while you're riding.
Yeah.
So I've been
Fred says
so far.
Fred says that modular's good, except behind people on dusty roads.
I like the comment above. Fred and I have to spit occasionally.
That's Tom King.
Yeah, I figured as much.
Yeah, when you got your spinach in to make your Popeye riding style better, you got to spit it out occasionally. So that's definitely something to think about. Yeah, I mean, I wear those goggles, and then I mean, if it's not that, it's usually a pair of safety glasses that I got from work.
Yeah.
Just underneath of the visor, but I've kind of more been leaning lately as far as wearing the goggles with the visor. If it's cold and you're doing a lot of road riding, the visor's nice to flip down and not have all that beating on your face, so to speak.
For dust, I know that like on a Bell MX-9, at least the visor has no problem going down over visor straps or goggle straps, and it really does save a lot of additional dust from getting on you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with mine so far. The only thing I will say is the little handle that controls the vent up and down on the face shield. It actually snapped off of mine, so I've got like a part of a screw screwed in there to work that. But like you said, man,
pretty notchy after several years of dust and mud and everything. It's seen better days.
Yeah, it's you got to watch though. It's kind of a balance point, like you say. If you put the headset on there, and then if you've got a GoPro mounted on there, man, you can kind of quickly overwhelm the weight of the helmet for sure. One other thing I'll show that's kind of cool here is if I know that we're doing like local stuff, and I'm not really worried about visors or any of that stuff, I'll just rock my freaking old race helmet, which kind of fits in with our theme here.
Sure, absolutely.
Punk Rock Moto XXX PBR helmet.
I wish they'd come out with some helmet graphics that weren't so gaudy.
Yeah,
I went with white for the visibility, but man, some of them get wild with like fluorescent stripes and everything else, and it looks like almost an Ed Hardy t-shirt from the 2000s.
That might be good in some ways though, as far as like visibility though. Like say you wreck over the side of a hill or something, you might be able to pick you out a little bit easier. I know
I don't know if you notice the difference, but wearing black when the sun's beating down on you and it's hot out, I think a white helmet does make, a pretty significant difference in terms of temperature.
I have noticed that 100% because like every piece of gear that I own for the most part is black.
I know, and I try to go the opposite way. I'm rocking like light grays and whites wherever I can get a hold of them because it does feel cooler, especially when the sun's out in the summers.
Yeah, it definitely makes a huge difference. And like I said, I didn't really plan it out that way. It's just kind of how it worked out. Was everything that I have is black, so I get hot very quickly. Nick says that he's got the AFX helmet and $1 pair of safety glasses. Yep. And that helmet's bright he's talking about. That's that orange one, I believe. And you can pick him out of a crowd very easily. So kind of moving on down, I guess we'll go to the next part of our body, which would be our chest area. What do you rock for a jacket?
So I got 2 jackets. If you're planning on riding like 3Zs and dual sport, I would suggest either running 2 different jackets, one being thicker and warmer and the other being like really lightweight, or getting like a jacket with shells and some down layers and stuff like that. So this is from a company called Sedici. I got this when I first got into riding. Came with a zip-in rain liner. It's kind of heavy, kind of thick. You don't want to wear it in the summers. It's great for spring and fall. A lot of storage. That's something that I really like in any jacket is pockets, especially pockets that zip. And I know AJ's got a jacket. I think it's from Fly that's got a big pouch on the back, like in the small of your back, that your rain liner and stuff can get folded up into.
That's pretty good.
For summer, I have I think it's called a Flux Air from Fly, and it's essentially just like aramid fiber that you can see light through, and then it's got a little bit of D3O pads in the shoulders and the elbows, and it is definitely a must-have if you're going to ride, especially like tight stuff where you get really hot and don't have the airflow in the summers. Plus, it's really lightweight.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're over in like Mark Wolf's property or something, you definitely need something that's going to breathe.
If I'm over at Mark Wolf property, I just take the jacket off before I do it. I know better.
Yeah. So I've got several different jackets, and I'm kind of situational, just depending on what we're doing or what the temperature is of the day. But I commute a lot to work on the bikes, and if I'm doing that, then I'm rocking this Scorpion kind of moto hoodie. It's a Scorpion Covert moto hoodie, and it's got pockets all over it. It's got kind of double stitch weaving in the crash areas. The back of it has a little bit of armor. It's nothing real crazy in it there. Yeah, I really like this hoodie though because it's slightly heavier than a normal hoodie, but it feels, it moves good with you. Haven't had to try it in a crash or anything yet, luckily, but I mean, it's got pockets galore all over there. As the old Rob Schneider would say on several Adam Sandler movies, you can put your weed in there. But mesh liner, it's pretty warm, but it still breathes pretty good in summertime. And then I actually got this from a friend of mine at work, John Clutter. If I'm doing like say a big road day or something on the Versus, then I'll rock the Alpine Star kind of supermoto jacket that I have. This thing's pretty heavy. It breathes pretty well though. It's got the loops to connect your helmet in so your straps aren't smacking you to death on there. But this is probably one of the most armored ones that I have. You've got really thick plastic in the shoulder area, in the back, clear down into your forearm area. Doesn't have as many pockets as a lot of other ones does. And like I said, it's kind of heavy, but I mean, it works out really well, especially if you're doing a lot of road riding, so to speak. Then kind of my main one, since I'm a cheapie, because I don't know if you know that the Wright family motto stands, if it's free, it's for me. The good old HWK Amazon jacket. Now, this was my first one that I ever had. And it's got a removable liner. It's got vents up in the kind of the bicep area, and then they kind of go out the back. There's a big vent in the back, one towards the bottom. It's got the full Snell piece in the back along your whole back area, and the elbow guards and the shoulder guards. I've hit the ground actually on the road a few times with this jacket, and it hasn't tore anywhere. It's held up really great, and you really can't beat it for the price. I will say, like with the liner in, it's definitely a cold weather jacket. You don't want to try to ride in the summertime with the liner in. You'll be sweating to death. But kind of the combo that I like to do with that, especially like in the summertime, is to just wear a regular, kind of normal motorcycle jersey. This is from a service, and I'll kind of not put the liner on and then put the jacket in over top of that. If it get hot enough, I'll take the jacket off and kind of rig it onto the bike and just wear the riding shirt. But
somebody's made a comment about mesh jackets versus vintage jackets, and they prefer mesh. I absolutely prefer mesh. Vintage jackets can't compare in terms of airflow, especially when you're on, tight stuff and, the sun's beating down. It doesn't matter how many vents and, zippers and everything else it has, unless you're moving it, 20 plus, it's not going to do you any favors.
It's 100%. You're exactly right. Cause I mean, even that HWK, any of the ones that I have with a vent zipper on there, it just doesn't provide enough airflow. And I'm constantly having to unzip the whole jacket, and then I'm sitting out there like I'm a bat flapping in the wind with the jacket on to kind of cool down. That was Chad Johnson with that comment there. Let's see. Buddy Jim Untamed says Tourmaster Alpine has been the best bang for the dollar compared to the high dollar K brand. Yeah, that's something we could talk about for sure.
I'd like to touch on the high dollar brands.
I cannot honestly see spending that much money on a moto jacket, man.
As much as we ride in a given summer, like there's no way that I can justify the amount of money. But if I had BMW GS money, maybe things would be, a little bit different. But I've tried on some climb gear, and it's really well made. It seems really nice. I just can't get over the price.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's like everything else. Most of the products like that are made in maybe 2 or 3 different factories around the world, and most of it's coming from China. So you're just slapping a fancy name on something that's available at a hell of a discount. Now, I don't really justify the price because I don't do enough cold weather riding or wet weather riding to justify that. But just the stuff that I have, when I've been stuck in the rainstorms, I've been plenty dry, and I didn't feel like I needed to spend over $1,000 on a riding outfit to justify that.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, that kind of segues into the next thing I want to touch on is like rain gear. What's your take, I guess, on rain gear?
I mean, I'm of the mindset where I don't really need to have it, so to speak. Yeah, I mean, I've just got like the Frog Tog poncho in my bag in case I really need it. But most of my stuff is water resistant. I wouldn't say it's 100% waterproof, but I mean, wherever I'm at, I can get out of the rain enough to get back home where I'm not really worried about it or anything. But yeah, I just keep
if it's an early spring ride or late fall ride where it's 50 degrees outside, I'll worry a lot more about trying to stay dry. But in the summers and stuff, it really doesn't bother me because rain goes away, you're going to get dried out anyway. And I'm not talking about getting soaked through the bone, but I'm talking about getting damp or something like that. My biggest issue with any rain gear, pants especially, is if you're sitting on the bike and it's raining hard, water is going to pool between your legs, and it is going to find the quickest, shortest path between the stitching and the seams and all that. And you are going to get soaked through in your seat. And it just is what it is. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. Like I said, Frog Tog, throw over top yourself and just get home or get out of the rain as best you can. One kind of trick that we'll kind of move down, I guess, and talk about gloves. It kind of goes along with cold weather and even rain weather. I always carry a pair of like the clear cellophane, like serving gloves, like for food.
I always thought it was because you're afraid of leaving fingerprints at the scene of the crime.
That's true too. You don't want your fingerprints on the gates you're going across and stuff. No, we don't condone that. But if you put those on underneath your gloves, man, it's your hands stay warm. You won't have to have even no hand guards, heated grips, anything like that. I mean, there's a little cellophane barrier there around your fingertips, keeps them warm and actually keeps them dry, especially if it's raining. But yeah, I rock a cheap set of dirt paws. They're very, very comfortable. I really, really like these. I'm big on gloves because I've tried a bunch of different ones. I got some kind of monster fingers, long hands, and I get blisters pretty easily if I'm riding for a long time. So glove choice is really important to me, and I really like these dirt paws. I've tried about everything out there. They've got the technology tips on the fingers where you can still use your phone and everything. The knuckles are kind of reinforced. The fingertips are reinforced, and I have wore the crap out of these for almost 3 years, and there's no holes anywhere on them. And at the end of the day, my hands are still silky smooth. So I really like those.
You definitely want silky smooth hands if you're riding a KTM. So when you got to take your purse out at the dealer to pay for repairs, you got her. So I've had a pair of Fly Icon or not Fly Icon, Icon 1000 gloves. I think they were like $40 or something like that. Held up super good. The entire palm and finger area is just one solid piece of, I think, goatskin leather.
Yeah.
I really like that because if there's no seam in it, it can't split. I've got a couple cheap pair of like Answer gloves and 100% gloves that I like. I'm not super picky. One thing I don't like is gloves that have too much padding, especially like through the palm and stuff like that, or in the fingertips. I like, pretty thin. I think it helps a lot with, for me at least, keeping hold of the handlebars for a full day.
Yeah, I've broke my wrist like 3 times on my right hand and 2 times on my left hand. So like even the XR, I know a lot of times if I was on a long riding day, if I had different gloves other than these, the vibration would get transferred in my hands a lot, and those dampen it a lot too. And I mean, carpal tunnel, your wrists start just killing you on a long ride home. So I'm very happy with mine. They kind of help cut down on that for sure.
Like I said, gloves. I mean, I haven't tried enough to really be picky.
Yeah.
There's some out there. I will say I do see some ADV guys gravitate towards like gauntlet style gloves that, come down pretty far. I don't think you're really gaining much in terms of, I guess the illusion of protection or something like that. I get it to an extent. It will help save your wrist from abrasions, but I mean,
I'm of the mindset to stay off the road as much as you can, get in the woods and crash on dirt, not road.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. Moving on from that, I guess we can kind of go over our breeches. What do you use for your pants, man?
So I have a pair of Fly Patrol pants. They're in the boot pants. I've looked at over the boot as well and might make that switch at some point. But my favorite thing about these is they've got gigantic pockets that are zippered. And they've got air vents that lead to mesh in the front and the back. If you don't have anything in your pockets, behind that is also mesh. So you zip out all your air vents and all that stuff, and it's like having, just almost a sheet of mesh on both your thighs, which helps a lot when you're out and you're hot. And of course, it's got like the little foam, I guess, illusion of protection type thing in the hips, and they've held up super well. Your exhaust will burn holes in them, unfortunately. But I mean, as far as a pair of riding pants, I've really enjoyed them. I think they were like $100 or something like that. So definitely not the cheapest, but they've held up super well.
That's good to know. That's definitely good to know. I need
to actually grip your tank and your bike and all that are leather.
Yeah,
which I think helps grip a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, it's good to know. I definitely need to upgrade my pants because last time out, I actually blew the crotch clear out of mine.
I remember that.
So, continuing the theme of cheap, I'm rocking a pair of good old HWK pants that match the jacket.
Classic.
I mean, these things are super cheap. They have all kinds of pockets all over them. They've got the knee guards already kind of sewn into the pant, and they're comfortable. They provide the protection. You know, they got the hip pads too. It's pockets galore. They do have vents down towards the legs that zip out, and they actually have kind of your cuff tie-offs with Velcro in case you want to go over top of the boot or under the boot. But the huge negative on these pants right here, they do not breathe. They are the hottest riding pants I've ever had in my life. And it doesn't matter if it's 30 degrees outside or if it's 100 degrees outside, you are going to sweat with those pants.
I think I have a pair of HWK pants almost exactly like that. I bought them when they were on sale. Just tried them on real quick to make sure the waist fit, and wore them around the house for all of about 2 minutes and folded them up and put them in the closet. And that's where they've sat for a year because I just can't. Like I said, I'm really partial to stuff that breathes well in the summers. And for me, I mean, that's a great option.
Yeah. I like them for the price. And if you're doing a lot of cold weather riding, they're good. But man, I'm telling you, man, they just don't breathe and you will sweat your, you know what off, man. But for the price and the protection and what you get, I mean, if you're first starting out, I think it's a decent pant. Just know that you're going to sweat really bad.
And they do have some offerings out there, I know, that have integrated like knee padding in the pants. I've not really ever seen a pair that keeps it in the right place where it needs to be. So it's kind of a dice roll. If you do, go down and plant your knee, is that protector cup going to be centered on your kneecap, or is it going to be like spun off around to one side or the other, when you need it most?
Yeah, I've noticed with the HWKs, it seems like they stay pretty good. The only time that they get disrupted is if you wash the pants, and it seems like you're in there trying to dig down through the mesh liner to put them back where they need to go.
Well, it's bad luck to wash your gear anyway.
When it stinks as bad as mine do, especially with HWKs.
Stink, man.
Yeah, the sweatiness needs to come out of those. It's terrible, man. It's terrible. Well, I guess we'll kind of move on down the chain here a little bit and talk about our footwear.
Before kind of a while we're there type deal. I know you're not big on them, but like some kind of knee armor, shin armor. I've been running these Leatt knee guards. I think Chad Johnson has the same pair. I really like them for what they are. They're about $100 or something like that. And they've saved my knees several times over. I'm not the most skilled rider in some terrains, and it's good peace of mind knowing that if I go down and plant a knee, it's not going to be a repeat of Tom's Creek section where I about split my kneecap in two.
I was just trying to show you there so you could see a little better, but yeah, I tore my ACL and PCL and MCL in 2004 racing down South Carolina. And after that, I was big on some type of knee brace, but I just couldn't get anything that fit comfy and didn't seem like it was chafing my calf muscle, even if I had long socks and stuff on. And
how long ago was that?
That was.
I'm not trying to make you feel old. I'm just.
God, that would have been, let's see, 19 years ago.
Well, from what I understand, knee braces have come a long way. I've been eyeing up a set of Leatt X frames because I've gotten really used to wearing these, even on the hottest days, and even doing Mark's Loop and stuff like that with knee sleeves and the whole 9 yards. So running to an actual brace isn't going to be a huge, step in terms of comfort. But I'm definitely thinking about trying a pair because the idea of like an ACL, PCL injury, I know it can't completely prevent it. I understand that. I've read the studies. I work in an industry that deals with, knee ligament injuries and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It does make a difference. My biggest concern is either coming down on my knee, like hyperextending, or having the bike, cock my leg sideways when my foot's planted and blow out one of your anterior or lateral ligaments. And a decent knee brace will will save you from something like that. But as far as like at speed, planting your foot when you're not supposed to and twisting it, it's not going to save you from that. But you can definitely minimize your risk, especially if you're running, more challenging terrain.
Yeah, when I did mine, I was actually going out this straightaway at where was that? It was the South Carolina GNCC. It's been down at Big Buck, and going out this long straightaway, kind of a whooped out sandy mess in between these really thick pine trees. You just have one little tiny, we're talking handlebar width through all them trees, and caught a stump that they'd cut and left up on the track a little bit with the front end. Endoed off the bike, went flying through the pine trees, and I actually caught my foot on one of the pine trees, and it wrapped around the pine tree and just twisted my leg completely around, and I kept going straight while my leg was behind me doing that. And I thought I broke my leg. That's what it felt like whenever I got up, and then realized, it was bad. It was PCL, MCL, ACL, and broken kneecap, and that was a great time. It took about
you pretty much yard sailed every ligament in your knee.
It was a bunch of cadaver ligament surgery and like 9 months of rehab, missed like a year and a half of racing.
That's what gets me. I understand there is risk associated with riding. There's risk associated with pushing your limits off road, but yes, knee braces are expensive. I think some of the Dawn Joys go up to close to $2,000 or something that. Lead X frames are closer to $500. That is worlds cheaper than the absolute cheapest knee surgery you could possibly have.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even within an order of magnitude. Like I said, I understand that it can't completely, eliminate it. I'm not suggesting that, you wear knee braces for gravel riding or something like that, but I'm pretty active. I like to, lift weights, go hiking, do all that stuff. And the thought of, a knee injury putting a stop to all that for almost a year.
Yeah. I mean, look at our buddy AJ.
100%. I'm not, not too crazy about it.
Yeah. Jamie Thomas says that Amazon has the Alpha Gear. So the Alpha Gear, I believe, is what replaced HWK. It's kind of the same stuff because I actually ended up with a pair of Alpha pants, and they're exactly the same as the HWKs. And like you say, for the price, they're hard to beat for sure. I like my knee guards in the pants. They protect against, flying rocks or anything like that. They're not going to offer any type of immobilization or anything like that as far as the knee injury is concerned. I used to race. When I got back into racing, I would at least wear the one on the left knee that I injured. But just found they were a little bit too bulky for whatever riding pants I had, and I just couldn't get comfortable with them. So
I understand.
Probably a bad thing, but I still don't wear them.
Yeah, I understand. It's all up to personal choice. Like I said, I've made it this far with 2 good knees. So I'm probably going to be starting this riding season out with a set of Lead X frames. And if I don't like them, turn around, sell them on eBay or MX Locker or something like that. But
I know some doctors too will actually, like, if you had a previous injury like that, will prescribe them. It was kind of funny to see your insurance paying for a set of Lead hats.
Yeah, really. There's a lot of schools of thought. I've heard people say, don't worry about braces until you've already wrecked a knee, and then you need it. But again, I work in an industry where, knee ligament damage, replacement, stuff like that's, something that's dealt with on a regular basis. And
right.
And in my opinion, if you can take steps to reduce your risk of that happening while you still have good knees, it's probably a good idea if you can cough the money up. But like I said, it's a matter of what you're out there riding. If you're just riding like adventure style and stuff like that, then it's not, you're not at near the level of risk.
Yeah.
But I know in like AJ's case, even it's been since 2018, I think that happened. It's still not back to, normal.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well, mine's not either, man. Even after the surgery, rehab, and everything, it still feels weird.
Yeah.
It's
they can bring you back together, but they can't put in OE equipment.
Nah, it's like running what's that cheap ass Amazon eBay piston? Can't remember that. the ones that blow up all the time. It's like putting that stuff back inside your bike.
Instead of running a DID chain, you got one of the knockoff DLD, but the DL is like lowercase, so it looks like DID.
Pro cocking handlebars, not pro tapers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mind game too to remember, like every time you get into a rough situation and you need to put that leg down, you're like you're kind of iffy about it, and like mine still hurts today. I actually 2 years ago had to go back in and get scar tissue removed because it was bothering me, and it's a big ordeal. And I mean, look at my mother. God bless my mom. She's been through 13 knee surgeries in 3 years, and it's just awful. It's something you don't want to go through for sure.
Rebuilt several times.
That's our buddy Rob. Oh,
see, that's like I said, I know it carries a risk, but stuff like that just worries me.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cases of, you can put your foot down the same way 100 times, and the 101st time it catches it just right.
Yep.
I know there's some guys I've seen on the forums and stuff that have blown out knee ligaments, just the bike falling over on them when their foot's planted. And
it could definitely be a freak thing.
Yep. That's especially for like the ADV bike crowd, these guys out there on these 600-pound machines in some cases. Definitely be worried about getting your leg caught under one when it's going over, because those things aren't going to be forgiving.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we can kind of move on to the footwear side of things here and see what you think about what you put on your feet.
Well, I want you to go first. I think we have a little bit different school of thought when it comes to.
I am a huge fan, especially for the dual sport riding that we do. Full on MX boot. These are a pair of O'Neill riders, kind of the same design as most of the lower grade MX boot stuff. You have a steel toe plate that kind of holds the end of the sole together. Buckles, Velcro strap, shin protection, which I'm a huge proponent of.
I wish I've got pictures on my phone of your shin absolutely annihilated.
Oh my God. That was 2 years ago.
That was a 2021.
Yeah, that's when we had it at Paw Paw. Yeah, I'll get over on Mark Wolf's property, and the XR was having some carburetor problems and was not wanting to run right, kept stalling. And I got pretty mad at it and started kicking, and my foot slipped off the kicker, and I absolutely railed my shin on the back of the foot peg with a pair of, I think they're also O'Neill rider, but they're the short, like dual sport boots. Ankle height. I completely destroyed my shin so bad that I was 100% sure I broke my leg. I threw up as soon as I hit my shin on the back of that thing, and my leg was black and blue for a month afterwards, man. And not only that, I've had times riding where, say you're on like Mount Olivet Church and a guy kicks a rock up and it hits you right in the shin.
Yep.
And I have a pair, and if I'm commuting to work or just, commuting somewhere, I might throw them on. But anytime that we're doing any type of off-road, man, it's full on MX boot for me. Yep. I'll deal with, being uncomfortable walking around the store or whatever, because that extra protection is worth it to me.
Yeah. Well, my thought is, I hear a lot of guys say that they can't ride in a full-on MX boot. And I guess that's a good opportunity for me to start talking. So I really am partial to Alpine Stars Tech Series. This is a Tech 3. There's actually a hinge portion in the ankle that flexes really well compared to, the spaceman style, almost Frankenstein walk-inducing motocross boots.
Yeah.
Huge fan of it. It prevents rotation and flexion of your ankle, and hyperextension, which is super important. I had a pair of Form Adventure boots, and I saw that they've been mentioned in the chat. They are super comfortable. I did not like how little protection they offered in terms of like rotation, hyperextension, etc. They were really good boots. The lug sole was great. I'd wear them all day and barely know that you're wearing them. But ultimately, I was I just wasn't happy with the level of protection. And when we say dual sport, it means a lot of different stuff to a lot of different people, like we touched on before. But for me, it's like, there's enduro riding thrown in there. Another issue I had with like adventure style boots was the soles weren't stiff enough. So you should be riding on the balls of your feet if you're standing to control the bike. And, it just wear my arches out, the lack of support in some of those.
Yeah.
But my biggest thing with the form is you could just take them and bend them like one way or the other. Everything else, it's, one step above a hiking boot in terms of protection.
Yeah.
But really comfortable, waterproof, affordable, and they looked cool.
Yeah.
Being
I actually have a pair of Alpine Star Tech 2s in the garage as well. And that was my racing boot. I loved Alpine Stars. They were the most comfortable for me, for sure. It seems like a lot of the adventure branded boots are a really soft sole compound or just a general more flexible boot, which is really good as far as being able to, walk around off the bike and maybe go into a store and get something, and even kind of flexing your legs a little bit to maybe control the bike a little bit better, but they just don't seem to hold up as well as what we do.
And my biggest gripe also about like the toe box of adventure style boots is this is pretty stiff.
Yeah.
Versus on, say, like a Forma or other adventure style boot, it's, like I said, a step above a hiking boot in terms of protection. Yeah. So if you're in a situation where your bike's going to, pin your leg a little bit or something like that, you don't want to have to worry about breaking some of your metatarsals because your foot was in an awkward position when it came down.
Yep. And to go along with that, the MX boots are usually pretty tough in that area, especially like for your shifter side. So if you've got that soft adventure boot, you're constantly feeling the shifter with your toes, and that gets old after a while for sure.
Well, it's a little bit of a learning curve, having gone from super flexible adventure style boots to something that's a little bit more limited in terms of dexterity. But once you get used to it, I can't go back. I feel, I guess, naked if I got too much ankle mobility, which is crazy to say, but.
No, I'm 100% with you, because that's exactly how I am with I put those little like ankle high boots on. Yeah. I don't feel, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good, and it's more clumsy than just wearing like a hiking boot or something. So.
And then another good thing about motocross boots is almost all of them have like a hard TPU area through the shin, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
not just
good enough for the occasional gravel pebble flying at you, or the stick sticking out that might swipe your shin.
Or, ever since that happened to me, going to plant your foot and your peg rolls back into it. I mean, that's a terrible feeling. I went riding hiking boots one time, and that was enough for me. I got a big goose egg on my shin from it. But
absolutely. I mean, kind of putting a bow on this, so to speak. I'm a big proponent of full motocross boots for your shins. Buy the best helmet that you can.
Yeah, that was mentioned in the chat too. Not a fan of cheaping out on headgear. I'm not either.
Yeah.
If it's up to personal choice. If you feel that you're spending an adequate amount of money for the protection that you want, that's
I'd say at the very least you want something that's Snell DOT approved with the MIPS in it. And
I'm a big fan of either ECE or Snell Foundation rating. I don't think the DOT stamp is necessarily adequate for some of the forces that you can be subjected to. Right. I think it's an outdated standard. There's a lot of stuff on the internet that backs that. Pretty much any helmet that is also sold overseas in Europe will be either ECE or Snell rated.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of spending. If I could only spend money on two pieces of gear, it would be a good helmet, a good pair of boots.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% with you there too. You can cheap out on the jacket, the pants. I mean, honestly, if you're just kind of riding around in the summertime, a cheap motorcycle riding outfit, it would suffice with some decent gloves. But definitely, if you're going to spend your money, spend it on the boots and the helmet, 100%.
I agree. And I mean, this stuff's not getting any cheaper. It is an expensive hobby to get into. It's an expensive hobby to, just year-to-year running costs.
Right.
But no matter how much you spend on, a good pair of boots or something like that, it's ultimately going to be cheaper than, say, having to get your ankle plated back together.
Yeah. Tom King says, if you got a $50 head, get a $50 helmet.
Yeah.
Well,
I remember Tom saying that like the first time I went riding with him, and it rang true with me ever since. I got a buddy that got into riding, and I tried to convince him to spend the money on, on decent gear. And he bought, I think, a $50 Amazon helmet, which, if you've done the research and you're comfortable with that purchase, that's great. But that's not even close to like a decent level of protection.
Yeah,
man. Most of those are just single stage, expanded polystyrene foam, and I think it's polystyrene. I don't know. I'm not a material scientist, but it's like single stage foam, and you get like an ABS easily cracked, shell around it. And another thing is they're not comfortable. I don't know if we really touched on that. The importance of being comfortable when you're riding, I think, is huge.
And absolutely.
It just makes everything so much more enjoyable. You won't get near as frustrated when you're, trying new sections or something like that if you're comfortable. But if you got boots that are, too small or digging into your shins or something like that, or, you're wearing goggles with crappy foam that, scratching against your face, it really wears on you over time. Or a heavy helmet.
Yeah. I'm of the mindset that this is a hobby that I do to get away from the stressors in life.
Yep.
And the last thing that I want is to try to be having a good time and having a Velcro strap that's rubbing my neck, or a tag somewhere that is rubbing, and just that stuff just drives me nuts. So
you don't have time for it.
No. And if it is a really good piece of advice is, try your different gear out and get it set up to where it fits you and everything's super comfortable, because I mean, it's a hobby. You're supposed to be enjoying yourself and relaxing. The last thing you want, like you said, is a goggle that the foam's gone rubbing your nose, or just a multitude of things. And
it's a process. I've been through multiple different sets of boots and all that stuff. The ones I don't like, I've given to friends that are, getting into the hobby. You're not going to get it 100% the first time. That's to be expected, and that's fine. You just save your money and make better informed decisions. Luckily, there's so much content on the internet out there that you can make some pretty well informed decisions just off a 10-minute YouTube video.
So if you had to upgrade anything in your current setup, what would you upgrade?
Well, I don't know. I'm interested in the idea of like Alpine-Star Dry-Star boots, but part of me says that membrane is not going to be 100% waterproof past like a couple months.
Yeah.
As you wear boots, they do break in a little bit more. These Tech 3s break in really quick. And then I've got about 2 years out of them, and some of the seams and stuff are starting to come, and they're showing their age and their mileage. So I'm between, either buying this and a Tech 5, which is a big price increase, but you get, Dry-Star waterproof membrane, or just buying another pair of these. I think they're like $200 or something like that, and then just rocking them for another couple years. Yeah. The only other thing I'm looking to get into, like I talked about earlier, was, trying out a set of knee braces.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if I definitely need to step the pants game up. I'm kind of leaning towards the fly jacket too, like you have for something in the summertime, just because I get super hot out there and start sweating, but I definitely need
I'm a huge fan of it.
Yeah. Definitely need to upgrade my jacket. That would be the big thing I would do, just because, my pants, the pants for sure. Especially with the crotch blowed open on the ones I have right now. I don't want.
I can't believe you're wanting to get away from that level of ventilation. Most guys would kill for that.
There's lots of things on my body I want to protect, and that's definitely one of them.
I can respect that.
Yeah, man. Gear is important.
It's huge, and that's something that a lot of people don't. They save their money to buy their first bike, which is, a big moment.
Just
set like nothing aside for gear.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, it's your choice ultimately, but riding jeans and a t-shirt and stuff like that, especially if you're going to be on and off pavement throughout the day. Pavement's awful.
Yeah.
Bottom line, it's like, a 40 grit belt sander turned up to 10, even at lower speeds. It'll just
rash sucks.
Off of you.
Just does.
And nobody likes getting grit and gravel picked out of your arm or something at the clinic. But I'm just a big proponent of gear. Like I said, it's not going to make you Superman. It won't make you invincible. But there's a lot of stuff that I've wiped out and then hopped right back up and went going, that if I would have been wearing, say, like hiking boots or something else, that it probably would have resulted in an injury.
I've seen so many just freak things happen out on the trail, like sticks sticking out where they really shouldn't be.
Yep.
Maybe, kind of what we was talking about a few episodes back about farmers gating county roads. I mean, booby trapping things. We're talking barbed wire and different things you might run into out there. And God forbid you're out there in just an old 1970s open face helmet, a tank top, and shorts, and you run into something like that, man.
Yep.
I've seen way too many close calls and videos of guys getting their calf muscles impaled with sticks and riding out. Like it's just not worth it, man. You spend the money on some decent gear.
Yeah, I agree. And then another thing I want to touch on is, myself included, tempted to buy the cheaper option sometimes. And in my experience, a lot of times that just results in I come back and buy what I wanted to start with anyway, because the cheaper option turned out to be not at all what I was looking for.
Yep.
And I would have been, $100+ ahead had I just bought what I wanted to start with.
Yep.
So it's kind of a balance between everything. Like I said, I know this stuff's expensive. It's just part of the hobby, unfortunately, but I'm a big proponent of saving up and buying quality gear where you can. But like we've talked about, you can skimp on your pants a little bit, your jacket, stuff like that. You don't have to go out and buy Climb or any of the big names to get reasonable protection and something that'll hold up pretty well.
Yeah, for sure. Guys in the chat are talking about road rash, and it's really hard to see. I still have a bunch of it right there in my forearm. I'm really bad about when I ride is rolling my sleeves up.
Yeah.
And my arms are absolutely destroyed from briars and
hitting the road. I'm really bad. I'll wear my jacket on pavement, and then once I hit dirt, I want to take it off. And I've got some pretty nice scars from briars and stuff like that. And
it depends on where you ride. We're East Coast, so summer times there's vines and briars and stuff growing up really bad. If you're kind of arid West Coast, you probably don't have to deal with that as much in sandy environments. I think the last thing I'd like to touch on, since we're getting up to our hour already, this may be kind of tied into a future episode slightly, but what about like backpacks or camelbacks or anything like that?
I think it's a 3-liter camelback, and I normally don't fill it up all the way, but it's going to be, we'll talk more about it during the tools and, trail tips episode, but it gives me a space to put like a tire pump, some 2-foot-long zip ties, baling wire, first aid kit, JB weld, tire inflator, all that junk, snacks, drop pair of socks.
Yep.
That's one of the best pieces of kit that you can take with you is a second pair of dry socks.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm a big fan of hydration packs. I was gifted one for Christmas one year. Previous to that, I just threw a water bottle in my tank bag. But being able to just, drink whenever you want to, whenever you need it, especially if you're doing like tighter wood stuff and you don't want to stop, you don't want to do that. But it's really important to keep your hydration levels up, even if you're not pushing real hard. You're still going to be losing a lot of water. But I've got a couple different backpacks, but having like a slim camelback style, I think has been the best. It doesn't get caught on anything when I'm out riding. It doesn't really mess with my center of balance. My biggest pet peeve is having a big backpack that's kind of loose to your back, and you're running over, like little jumps or whoops or whatever, and it's just picking up, slamming down in the small of your back over and over and over.
Yeah, I when I first started out, it was just a cheap like Gabriel Brothers backpack. It looked like it might half hold up out there, and I had everything in it. You know, tools, food, clothes. You have it way overpacked for what we were doing. And like you said, I couldn't ever get it tight enough to my back, so it's constantly back there, up and down, and it just fatigued you really bad throughout the day. And the final straw for the camp or the backpack for me was I was on a ride with Mom, Dad, Tom King, Fred, and a bunch of people going out to 5 Points out Wallace area. And there's this little mom and pop diner convenience store in the podunk town of Wallace out in Wetzel County in the middle of nowhere. And we usually stop there and get a bite to eat and got some stuff and come back out and kind of eating our stuff and just hanging out for a little bit, catching our breath. And got back on the bike and I put my backpack on. I'm like, man, this thing is way too heavy. I'm not sure what's going on here. Like, felt like I was just kind of, I'm just tired. I've got way too much stuff in here. So I get riding down the road a little bit and I'm like, no, something is not right with this backpack. And when we pulled to the next stop, I unzipped it and my mom had put a freaking chunk of concrete this big in my backpack.
Well, you never know. You might need it.
I didn't need that. It was killing my back. I was like, all right, no more pranks. I'm done with the backpack. But
that's definitely something we'll touch on when we talk about tools and all that stuff is, what you think you need versus what you actually need for most cases.
That could be a whole other hour for sure.
It's just like camping. It's really easy to take too much, and then you end up, carrying 20 pounds of stuff.
Like I'm sure we'll touch on it, but it's a lot like it was whenever I was in my wheeling days.
Yes, sir.
If everybody can carry something, then no one has to carry everything. Yeah, and that lightens everybody's load, makes it really nice.
Versus the guy that's another thing too is if you've got several. Well, we're getting into the tool side of it and whatever, but if you got a bunch of guys running KTMs, then you can get away with one set of axle wrenches for all of you, one set of tire irons. It helps. Same if you got a bunch of guys running Jeeps, like the same model, you can all carry one set of axle shafts or whatever. But that just goes back to comfort. You need to be comfortable when you're out riding.
Yep.
Especially as the weather gets hotter.
Yeah,
it becomes more and more important. And having a super heavy backpack that's throwing off your center of balance and beating you to death when you're out there is not ideal.
Yeah, I definitely got rid of the backpack and switched to it's like a 5 or 8 liter Ozark Trail Walmart special Camelback. It's one of the bigger Camelbacks. And like you said, I don't really ever fill it up all the way, but just having that little bit of extra room to throw some granola bars or what have you down inside of it makes it.
They have some really nice fanny packs too. Tom King gave me one. I think it's from MSR.
Mm-hmm.
And, I really like it. The only downside is I can't wear it when I have my Camelback on because it wants to occupy the same spot in my lower back that backpack does. But
my wife got me a Thor one there for my birthday a couple years back, and I wore it a good bit, and it was nice having it had like water bottle holders on the side and all that. But then I found myself tending to overpack with it, and then after the end of the day, my back was hurting just having all that weight back there kind of flapping around.
Yep.
But I actually did take that and turn it into a super cheap tank bag. And that thing was super handy to have on the front of the motorcycle. So those out there that may want to try to find a cheap tank bag, a little tool roll kidney belt style works great on your gas tank if you can finagle it on there.
Then AJ bought something that's kind of a hybrid between a backpack and like a fanny pack tool bag type thing, where it's almost like a vest. The back of it is backpack with a water bladder in it, but it's got the sides that come around your like your rib cage and all that. That's got 2 pretty reasonably sized pouches in it, then 2 pouches on the front, and it's got a lot of MOLLE webbing. So anything that you have that's like older spec U.S. military,
it'll snap in there.
Yeah, like I've got a pile of like zipper bags and stuff like that. It'd be great for it, but I looked at the price tag after he was telling me about it, and I was like, man, that thing's sweet. Yeah, like I said, I looked at the price, and it's not quite that sweet.
Sweet. Well, I think that kind of wraps up our gear, man. This was awesome. Appreciate everybody in the comments kind of giving us some more topics to talk about. And please keep those coming, because eventually I think we're going to run out of ideas. So anything you guys can talk about with us there would be great. I definitely want to get in to start doing some interviews with some of the guys in the sport that we know.
Yep.
Talk to them a little bit. And on that note, I also want to make a couple announcements. Unfortunately, our buddies at Licking County Trail Riders have decided to cancel the Flint Ridge Dual Sport ride this year. I was really looking forward to that, so it's a bummer to hear that. And also, stay tuned. We are really, really trying and hoping that before the end of this week or maybe the start of next week, we can get the flyer out for the 304 detour. We're mopping up a couple little details. We finally got the location squared away and penciled down. Just kind of waiting on some pricing for some food so we can determine what the final entry fee and everything is going to be on that. So appreciate everybody behind the scenes working to make that happen. And anything else, man?
We touched on pretty much all the points I want to talk about.
Cool. Awesome. Well, appreciate everybody tuning in. Thanks again, Trevor, as always. And we'll see you guys next Tuesday. We'll go over tools and things we carry on the motorcycle itself.
Sounds good.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you.